Okay, let me ask you a question. What if I told you that some of the most powerful medicine you could ever get your hands on isn't at the pharmacy, but it's sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now?
No, I'm serious. Think about that for a second. What if all these plants that people have been using for thousands of years weren't just folklore? What if they were just hiding in plain sight? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on three absolute botanical powerhouses.
And look, this isn't about superstition or old wives' tales. We're talking about ancient wisdom that is now being proven like lock solid by modern clinical science. We're going from the kitchen right to the medicine cabinet, and we've got the data to back it up. So let's kick things off with a classic you think you know.
Lavender. I mean, come on, you know the scent. You've seen the gorgeous purple fields. But here's the thing. For centuries, this was serious medicine. Its true identity got completely buried under its massive success as just a pretty smell.
So let's just bust this myth right now. The common belief? It's a nice, relaxing scent for soap and candles. But the clinical reality? It is a scientifically proven treatment for generalized anxiety disorder. We're not just talking about feeling calm. We're talking about a real, measurable effect on your brain chemistry. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. We're talking multiple randomized controlled trials, the gold standard of research, that found an oral lavender preparation reduced anxiety on the same level as powerful anti-anxiety drugs. But here's the kicker. It did it without the risk of dependency or those awful withdrawal effects. That is a total game changer.
All right, let's move on to our next plant, and you'll see how this all connects. Rosemary. You know, that woody, pine-smelling herb you probably have in your spice rack for cooking? Well, its real history, it's all about the brain.
Yeah, we throw it on roasted potatoes. But modern neuroscience is now confirming what people knew thousands of years ago. This stuff is a powerful brain booster. In studies, just inhaling the aroma has been shown to improve both speed and accuracy on mental tasks. Okay, so how does it work? This is the really cool part. It comes down to a powerhouse compound called 1,8-cineol. This molecule is actually small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, that ultra-selective security gate around your brain. And once it's in, it helps protect acetylcholine, which is one of the most important neurotransmitters for memory and learning. See? It's not magic, it's just brilliant chemistry. And of course, this is not a new idea. Shakespeare wrote about it centuries ago. For the longest time, everyone just thought, oh, that's just beautiful poetry. Turns out it was a shockingly precise observation of a real biological effect. All right, for our final plant, let's talk about the one that everybody underestimates, chamomile. You know, it's got this reputation for being gentle, grandmotherly, maybe even a little bit weak. Well, let me tell you, that assumption could not be more wrong.
Get ready for this, because this comparison is absolutely staggering. We think of chamomile as this mild, maybe even placebo bedtime tea. The clinical reality? It contains a compound that binds to the exact same receptors in your brain that a drug like Valium targets. It works through a real, well-documented neurological pathway.
The star of the show here is a compound called apigenin. This is what gives chamomile its knockout punch. It's the key that fits into those benzodiazepine receptors in your brain and tells them to calm down, producing that incredible anti-anxiety effect. That gentle little flower is actually a super sophisticated neurological tool. And if you're looking for the proof, well, here it is. Peer-reviewed, randomized controlled trials. You can see it right here. People with generalized anxiety disorder taking chamomile extract had a significant drop in their symptoms compared to the folks taking a placebo. The data is crystal clear. This is so much more than just a comforting warm drink. So now that we know why these plants work, the next big question is, how can we actually use them? And the best part is, you don't need a fancy lab. The methods are super simple, and they've been used for centuries. Seriously, it's incredibly easy. You can brew a strong tea with dried chamomile or lavender to help with sleep and anxiety. You can make an infused oil with rosemary or lavender and massage it into your temples to help with the headache. Or you can make these simple little sachets of dried lavender and just tuck one by your pillow to really improve your sleep quality. Now, for daily use, just a few quick important tips. You want to store your dried herbs in airtight jars away from the sun. That keeps all those active compounds potent. A cup or two of tea a day is a fantastic routine to get into. If you do make an infused oil, always do a little patch test on your skin first to make sure you don't have a reaction. And of course, this is powerful wisdom, but it's not a replacement for medical advice. Always, always talk to your doctor about any persistent health issues.
So what do you need to start your own little home apothecary? The list is probably shorter than you think. First, get some high-quality dried herbs. That's your foundation. Then you just need some airtight glass jars, a way to boil water, and a tea infuser. For oils, a simple carrier oil like olive or almond oil is perfect. And for the sachets, a few small cloth bags. That is it. You're ready to go.
And that's really the whole point, isn't it? From lavender to rosemary to chamomile, this incredible power was never lost. We just forgot where to look. This potent, effective medicine has been sitting quietly in our gardens and on our kitchen shelves this entire time. It kind of makes you wonder, right? If these 3 super common herbs have this much science behind them, what other secrets are hiding in plain sight on your spice rack? What else have we forgotten? All right, welcome back. We're jumping right back in to look at 4 more plants, ones that are probably hiding in plain sight in your life that have some truly mind-blowing, clinically backed healing power. Okay, let's just dive right in. First up is peppermint. Now, this is a plant most of us probably just think of for, toothpaste or maybe a piece of gum. But oh my, the research tells a totally different story. So just look at this direct comparison. I mean, think about that for a second. Multiple clinical trials have found that peppermint oil, when you just apply it to your forehead and temples, gives pain relief that is equivalent to acetaminophen. This isn't just, it helps a little. We're talking about a plant going head-to-head with a standard over-the-counter pain filler and its Thai. So what's the magic here? Well, it's a compound called menthol. Imagine we could just zoom right into the leaf. What this molecule does is it essentially tricks your body. It activates these cold-sensitive receptors, creating that familiar cooling feeling. But it's not just a feeling. It's a real analgesic effect that's actively blocking pain signals. How cool is that? And it doesn't stop with headaches, not by a long shot. For something like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, enteric-coated peppermint oil is now actually a recommended first-line treatment because it relaxes the gut and cuts down on those painful spasms. And if you're all stuffed up, that same menthol is a clinically validated decongestant that helps open up your airways. So how do you actually use it? Well, it's super straightforward, but you got to use the right tool for the job, right? For headaches, it's topical application. For IBS, you need those special enteric-coated capsules to get it where it needs to go. And for congestion, just a few drops in hot water and inhaling the steam works wonders. All right, let's move to our next heavy hitter. Next up, we have elderberry. And this is a fascinating one because it was a classic winter remedy that modern medicine kind of just dismissed, called it old-fashioned, right up until the clinical trials came back and proved them wrong. So this number right here, this is the key. 4 days. That's not a tiny improvement, folks. That's a huge clinical result. We're talking about cutting your sick time with the flu almost in half. That is absolutely massive. So how on earth does it pull this off? Well, you can think of it like a 2-pronged attack, a real 1-2 punch. The compounds in these little dark berries, they're called flavonoids, and they actually stop the virus from being able to multiply. At the very same time, they're firing up your own immune system to fight back harder and faster. And the cool thing is you can whip up a really potent syrup right in your own kitchen. The trick is to simmer the dried berries with some warming spices like ginger and cinnamon until that liquid really reduces down. And then, and this is important, once it's cooled down a bit, you stir in raw honey. You get all of honey's amazing benefits, plus it helps keep the syrup good. So, how much do you take? Well, if you look at the studies in traditional use, about 1 tablespoon a day is a great preventative measure during flu season. But the moment you feel that little tickle in your throat, that's when you ramp it up to several tablespoons a day to get that immediate antiviral kick. Let's move on to a plant that a lot of us might even have on our windowsill, Aloe Vera. I mean, this spiky succulent has an incredible 6,000-year medical track record, used by everyone from the ancient Egyptians right up to today's scientists. Okay, you really need to let this one sink in. This conclusion comes from a huge review of a bunch of different clinical trials. And we're not talking about just soothing a little sunburn here. We are talking about hard data showing that aloe outperforms standard medical treatments for serious 1st and 2nd degree burns. That is just wild.
When you break open one of those leaves, what you're seeing isn't just plant goo. It's a complex cocktail, a living pharmacy with over 75 active compounds that all work together to calm inflammation and literally speed up how fast your body can repair itself. And for skin stuff, it couldn't be easier. Just snap off a leaf and put that fresh, clear gel right on whatever needs it. But what's really interesting is that while most of us know it for burns, the research is also backing up its use internally as a juice for soothing your whole digestive tract, for everything from reflux to IBS.
Okay, and finally, we have the golden powerhouse, turmeric. Yeah, it's that root that gives curry its amazing color, but it's also one of the most intensely studied medicinal plants on the entire planet right now.
I mean, just pause and really think about what this is saying. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, is so ridiculously good at fighting inflammation that giant pharmaceutical companies are pouring, well, honestly, enormous amounts of money into trying to create a synthetic version. They're trying to copy in a lab what this humble root has been doing for thousands of years. And that powerhouse is curcumin. It gets right down to the molecular level and just shuts down the pathways that cause chronic inflammation. And that's the type of inflammation that's linked to so many of our modern diseases. We're talking heart disease, arthritis, cognitive decline, you name it. Okay, but here's the catch. There's a little trick to really unlocking its power. See, your body actually has a hard time absorbing all that good stuff on its own. So this ancient recipe, golden milk, adds a tiny pinch of black pepper. And that pepper has something in it called piperin, which, get this, turbocharges your body's ability to absorb that curcumin by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo, 2,000%. Now, look, we have to talk about safety for a second. It's really important to remember that natural doesn't automatically mean safe for everybody. We're talking about really potent compounds here that have real effects on your body. So it's always a smart move to check with your doctor or a healthcare professional before you start a new regimen, especially if you're pregnant, nursing, or taking other medications. So, okay, after looking at all this, what does this plant-based pharmacy actually look like, especially when you put it side by side with the one we're maybe a little more used to? This chart just lays it all out so perfectly, doesn't it? For some of the most common things we deal with, I'm talking headaches, the flu, burns, and chronic inflammation, there are these powerful, evidence-backed options right there in our gardens or kitchens, and they can stand toe-to-toe with their pharmaceutical counterparts. It really makes you think, right? Which one of these incredible healers have you just been walking past on your kitchen counter? Maybe the most profound medicines aren't always the newest, or the shiniest, or the most expensive. Maybe they've been right here waiting for us all along. For centuries, humanity has held secrets to incredible healing power. But what if I told you these secrets aren't buried in some lost tomb? What if the most powerful remedies on Earth have been hiding in plain sight, right inside your kitchen? Seriously, think about that. What if the key to fighting off some of our most common illnesses isn't at the pharmacy, but on your spice rack, just waiting for you to remember how to use it? Well, today, we are unlocking the evidence behind 3 absolute titans of the plant world. All right, first up in the ring, we've got this beautiful purple coneflower. This is Echinacea. It once ruled the plains of North America. It was the primary medicine for the plains tribes, a true powerhouse that modern medicine basically forgot about and then spent decades scrambling to rediscover. And oh, they have definitely rediscovered it. Look, this isn't some old wives' tale anymore. We're talking about more than 300 published clinical studies. The science has finally caught up, proving what indigenous healers knew in their bones all along. And here's something really cool. It's like a secret handshake. If you've ever used a good Echinacea tincture, you've probably felt this weird tingling on your tongue. That's not a side effect. That's the medicine. The active compounds called alkyamides literally getting to work. It's a real-time signal that what you have is the real deal. So here's the bottom line. This stuff just works. Modern science confirms it. It can slash your chances of catching a cold, and if you do get sick, it makes it shorter and less miserable. And it doesn't just boost your immune system, which can be kind of messy. No, it modulates it. It makes your body's own defenses smarter, faster, and more efficient. There's a reason it was the go-to medicine for generations. Okay, let's bring out our next heavyweight. This one is a root that has been a global celebrity for, get this, 5,000 years. This isn't just some local remedy. This is a fundamental piece of the human survival kit that cultures all over the world discovered all on their own. Now stop and really think about that for a second.
Ancient China, ancient Greece, Ayurvedic masters in India, medieval herbalists in Europe, all these people with no way to communicate with each other all came to the exact same conclusion. This spicy root is incredibly powerful medicine. That's not a coincidence, folks. That's a pattern.
But this is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. In modern gold standard clinical trials, ginger goes head-to-head with modern anti-nausea drugs. And you know what? It holds its own. For nausea from chemo, surgery, even morning sickness, this 5,000-year-old root is often just as effective and sometimes more effective than a prescription pill, and with way fewer side effects. That is just incredible. So we've got two serious contenders, two absolute powerhouses. But there is one plant that stands above them all, a plant with more history, more research, and more raw medicinal firepower than almost anything else. The undisputed greatest of all time, the goat.
That's right. Garlic. I'm talking about the stuff that's probably sitting on your kitchen counter right now. It is time we stop seeing this as just something to flavor our food with and start recognizing it for what it truly is, a pharmacological beast, one of the most potent and proven medicines on the entire planet.
And just like ginger, every single great empire of the ancient world figured this out. The Egyptians wrote it down in their medical texts. Greek Olympians ate it to perform better. Roman soldiers took it on campaign for strength and to fight off infections. They knew this wasn't just food, it was a tool for survival and conquest.
Okay, brace yourself, because the modern evidence is just staggering. It's a broad-spectrum killer of microbes. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, you name it. It even shows activity against antibiotic-resistant superbugs like MRSA. It lowers blood pressure, it slashes bad cholesterol, it makes your blood vessels work better, it shortens your colds. Oh, and it's linked to lower rates of cancer. The list is just insane.
I want you to let that sink in for a second. This humble little bulb from the ground has more hard scientific research backing it up than most billion-dollar patented drugs you see advertised on TV. And that is why it's the GOAT. End of story.
Okay, but here's the thing. Just knowing this isn't enough. You have to know the code. You have to know how to prepare these plants to actually unlock their full medicinal power. This is the ancient knowledge part. So for garlic, the magic word is allicin. But here's the secret. Allicin doesn't actually exist in a whole garlic clove. You have to create it. It's like a little chemistry experiment. When you crush or chop the garlic, you break its internal walls, and two different compounds mix together and create allicin. But, and this is the most important part, you have to let it sit for 10 minutes before you cook it. That gives the reaction time to create the maximum amount of medicine. Don't skip this step. Now, ginger is way more straightforward. The method is beautifully simple, and it hasn't changed in thousands of years. You just slice up some fresh ginger, let it simmer in hot water for about 10 minutes, and drink it. That's it. This simple tea is the exact technique our ancestors used for millennia to handle everything from an upset stomach to aches and pains. It's ancient, it's easy, and it is profoundly effective. So let's bring it all home. We've just covered echinacea, the prairie powerhouse, ginger, the 5,000-year healer, and of course, garlic, the undisputed GOAT. And the point is, these are not just folk tales. These are scientifically validated powerhouse medicines that are sitting in your kitchen right now. And that right there is the big secret. You see, the most powerful pharmacy on earth isn't some building you have to drive to. It's in the soil. It's in the produce aisle. It's on your spice rack. This incredible power has been right here, right in front of us the entire time. So I gotta know, what was the biggest wow moment for you? Was it that ginger can actually beat pharma drugs for nausea? Or was it the 10-minute garlic rule that unlocks its real power? Drop it in the comments below. I read all of them, and I really want to know what you think. And hey, if this totally changed how you look at your kitchen, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you want to keep getting this kind of evidence-packed knowledge that puts real power back in your hands, make sure you subscribe. The medicine was always there. Now you know what you're looking at.